This is Smith Welding. I'm Adam Niffen. I'm your host. Stroll around the shop with us. Check out what we got in here today. It's always fun and interesting. Alright, so you guys all know we moved the shop. It's evolving. We're moving on. We're moving forward. I'm gonna kind of poke and show you some of the little shop projects, the doodads that make my life easier. Today, as I'm cleaning up and making room, because once we built that, it displaced so much shit that kind of had a place. Alright, I got laid out on the floor here on this steel. You can kind of see the lines. Right now all I'm making is basically a dispenser for our file papers. I'll cut the front inch of this box off, and I'll tape them up so they don't fall apart, and I'll cut the front inch off. And I'm gonna put a dispenser rack like right here for these, just for the file papers. And I'll make it large enough I can hold a couple more boxes in there. At least one more, because we've got 36, 80, 180. I want to get some 400. Right now our 400 is actually on a roll, and it's in the paint booth, but whatever. I'm gonna make some dispenser racks for the rolls. This toolbox here, now let me show you something. It's real janky. The pressed steel bottom is caved in where the casters bolt. So I'm gonna build a frame underneath there. I'm just gonna weld these casters. They're good casters, so I just weld them on underneath so it rolls freely. And we're just gonna go around this plate thing 360 degrees, and we're just gonna start adding shit to it. I don't have near the sophisticated patience or desire to make the pimped out toolboxes Tommy makes. I'm just going for function, okay? Functionality is all I care about today. Functionality, I'm simple folk, people. I may not be a hillbilly, but a lot of my mindset is in kind. So giggle and chuckle, jab me as you like, that's okay. But we're gonna go through this rimline cabinet, and we're gonna build nooks and cubbies and holes, and eventually I want to get where I've got a couple of paper and tape dispensers on the back of it. I've got a dispenser for our the two style mud spreaders that we use, disposable mud spreaders we use. It's just going to kind of be the collect it all one stop for all of our body work, the file papers, the DA papers, grinding wheels, cut off discs, anything we use to go from rough in, dent pulling, all that, all the way through when we send it into the booth for the final. You know, when it hits the booth, the worst it's ever going to see is 180 to block out some primer. And then you move on to 400, then you wet sand it after priming one more time, generally is the rule of thumb. So I want to get that set up as a station just for that, mostly because when we built the booth, we displaced the mixing table I built, and it's set up half-assed right now, okay, but all this shit's got to get moved around and rethunk. We need to rethunk our whole idea. As I close this wall in, shouldn't walk on steel you got laying on the floor. As I get this wall closed in and sheeted, I'll be able to utilize this a lot more. There'll be shelves, there'll be counters, there'll be things that we use, because I intend to clean this whole wall off so I can park a car just a walking distance off that wall, and we have all this open to work in. If you have shit down both sides, you're fucking yourself, because to be able to work down this side you need 4 feet. To be able to walk down a side you need 2.5, maybe 3 tops, and that's if you're opening doors. So I'm going to use my little sheet metal brake I'd made, and I'm going to clamp it to the table, and I'm going to make some bends. I haven't decided if I'm going to weld it or screw it to the rim line. It really doesn't matter. Oft times I just weld shit together because, well, it's mine, it's in my shop. If I don't like it, I'll cut it off and start over. So I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to get this dispenser built for line file paper, and then we'll move on to other things. Alright, so I cut a piece of OSB to slide in the top. I can sand that down, whatever I need to do. I made these. This is 20 gauge, this is 16 gauge. Drilled a hole, actually drill hole, it's 1/2 inch round rod. I can put a cotter pin in there to keep it from sliding, but that's for rolled goods, 80, 180, 320, whatever, you know, we got enough. That little shell there, we've got all of our file paper. I actually built a 1.5 inch tube frame platform, took the wheels off, welded them to it. It moves around much better now. That inside floor had a bead roll in it and stamped to add rigidity. Well, it wasn't enough, and they were pushing up into that, distorting that floor. We don't give a shit. We got a platform under it now. It's tack welded in 3 spots down the sides. That's all we really need. Let me see. Isolated, its own drawer, its own stuff. Still a little warbly, but I don't know what that's from exactly now. Probably gonna make home for some of this stuff. Not in a drawer, but on the cabinet somewhere. This system isn't bad. It's not good, but it's not bad in a pinch. Then we get into, I'm gonna build the dispensary for both types that we use. Black Marsden and yellows. We use them both. These are a lot more flimsy. Than these are. So I'm going to start building dispensaries around it for various things. I got storage underneath for buckets. I was thinking about doing some kind of hutch surround, but it's really not worth it to me. I may take and actually build one side or the other a little basket, like a letter basket almost, for an office door, just to drop the pallets in that we use. So that's where we're at so far. I don't need a handle to push it around by. I mean, we got fixed wheels on this side, we got unfixed wheels on this side. I just welded the shit together. We don't care. My big aim and ideal is to get functional equipment in the shop and get going on the functional aspect of things so that we can boost our productivity, cut down wasted time. You know, I'm gonna kill a day on this motherfucker and it breaks my heart, but we need shit streamlined. I'm gonna sit down and look this over, see what else it needs before it can be a complete project. This is the back side of it. This was a toolbox that had literally fallen apart. Welded it in some spots. Stitched it all the way across. No, I didn't clean this shit up. Who cares? It's gonna be so full of epoxy resins. When we get short strand, I'll drop the bucket of short strand in there. Against my own rule, I use a piece of DOM that we have on hand. I hate using this up for anything unimportant, but this was kind of important. Build almost a serrated edge there so it tears the paper. I scalped that off of our tape dispenser, the wheel and everything. We weren't using that arm of it. So we come around here. I put cotter pin, drill holes and put cotter pins on the other side because these were trying to fall out already. Took some 1/4 inch round rod, welded in there. There's our grinding, sanding wheels. File paper. Stock goes down there and the stud puller goes down there. I got more to do to this. This is a work in progress. I thought you'd like to see the gadgets I make to make my life easier. I got a drawer down here. I'll bring this up and throw it down the mud. I'm good to go. I'm ready to scoop up out of the bucket, throw it on here. You know, if you're really hard up, you slide it right up against it so you're not fucking dumping it everywhere. Glaze, a couple of hardeners, some plastic honey. This gives us, this actually takes care of 2 shelves, 3 drawers, and a whole bunch of miscellaneous that's just been laying around the shop, essentially loitering, taking up space. Now I can move it anywhere, right up to the car I'm working on. We got a little hand masker for the 6-inch. I got the 12-inch paper. Well, let's do a toolbox review. A bunch of cutting wheels, 36 8-inch pads, stuff to fuck shit up, okay? Clecos, our little roll locks because they didn't fit up there before. I might do something now. Hot glue gun, and this paintless fix. It's the cheap prosumer stuff, okay? Stud pullers, studs. Right now, I'm gonna build a dispenser for these. Haven't done it yet. I'm gonna build a rack for these. Haven't done that yet. Probably over here. I'd like to get an extension cord and everything wrapped up here also. My wet sanding blocks for the most part. My dry sanding blocks and my rasp. The bottom goes lead. All in all, I could take it anywhere in the shop or anywhere that I can roll it, and I'm good to go. I can block down a car with everything I've got right there. I've started doing so much of my block work by hand instead of machine that this makes it easy. I don't know. Hope you like it. There it is. Alright, so basically as it stands, when we're slow, Jeremy's working and I'm cleaning and building, or vice versa. I'm not saying we're slow because we got stuff to do. I showed you this. You know all about this motherfucker. But this is kind of what Jeremy was up to today. I took apart our ladder that had the light bars on it. I put one there and I put one there just to light the space up is more important than anything. And Jeremy went through, you've seen the clusterfuck that this was in. If you look in the background of the videos, this table here was out in the middle of fucking everywhere. That table you couldn't see shit on it. We're working our way around. I'll put wheels on that so it's like that one and they can move. If it's on the floor, it's got wheels. That's the goal around here these days. I mean, actually we got inventive enough that the iPod, if we're not using it, Jeremy's got one, I've got one, if we're not using it, they'll go in our drawers, in our toolboxes. But if we're using it, that keeps it from getting fucked up. There's a hole in the bottom where we can put the charging port, which is behind that gun, to charge them. So there we go. Jeremy got his new toolbox in, and that kind of precipitated a lot of the moving stuff around. Building the booth upset the whole. Building the booth upset the whole works of the shop, that's fine. It's what it's supposed to do. Now it's at its final dimensions, so we can start planning things accordingly. We're working on lighting up this place more, so it's not so much a dungeon. We're missing things. We're missing scratches when it goes in for final paint and have to back up. That's a pain in the ass. So, moving shit around the shop. There you go.